Get it in. You listen to the Uncensored Truth podcast with your brother, Old God, and Sam. And Sam, what you got over there, man? This one right here is powerful. This next thing that you got pulled up, man. Get the people this treat right here, man. This was crazy.
All right, yeah. Well, Eve actually was just talking about what we all know. Willow Smith was she came out and was saying how she was cutting herself at 10 years old. You know what I mean? How she was real depressed and cutting herself. And Eve had a little bit to say about that. Let's hear Eve's perspective on it, and we'll get back to our 1-2. You listening to the Uncensored Truth podcast? Let's go.
I have, and not in that way, not in a cutting way, but at a time in my life, at a point in my life, I gone through and like she says, a dark hole. I call it my dark hole period, my dark period. I was out of a toxic relationship. I didn't have a TV show. I didn't have a record deal. I was just kind of like, what is happening with my life? So I started drinking a lot. I started drinking because I didn't want to deal with my emotions. I didn't have anybody to really talk to. I was even popping Xanax and drinking to numb my pain. And at the time while I was in it, I didn't see that I was harming myself. I just felt like I was coping, but I really wasn't. And yes, you think of harming yourself as cutting or something, but drinking and drugs is exactly the same thing.
Many ways.
In many ways.
True.
And it took my DUI, and I talked about this on the show before, I got a DUI, and it took my DUI to wake me up because I had to wear one of those ankle things. And I didn't want to because I knew it would force me to deal with my stuff. And I did, and thankfully I did, and was able to get healthy. I prayed myself through it. I finally started figuring out the things that I needed to do to make myself healthy.
And look at you opening up.
Yeah, look at you now. Yes.
Yeah, what it's amazing. I mean, I'm so proud of you. I understand that. I think what I don't understand about this is when you're going through pain, and I think we've all been through pain, emotional pain, I don't understand why you would make the physical pain match your emotional pain. Like what you were doing sounds to me more like numbing. Yeah. Numbing the pain, right? Why would you want to add more pain to that? I don't really understand that concept.
I know. I think
does anybody know?
When I've heard other cutters say that the cutting is like a release. It's more of it's pain, but it's also it's something that they can control. And you know what I mean?
It's an anxiety, and it's a disorder, and it takes intense therapy to deal with something like that. It's all emotional.
Yeah,
it's all therapy. Therapy.
Therapy is the best thing. I think therapy is so important. I suggest therapy for anybody.
Everyone. Even if you're not struggling.
Even if you're fine. It's good to have somebody to check into who is not a part of your life.
Yeah,
that's really helpful.
I mean, that was Eve talking about. It's funny how she said with them ankle thingies. She been that far out of Philly now. She don't remember what the fucking ankle brace is called.
Right.
One of them ankle thingies. You know what I mean? But let's talk about that, man. We often hear rappers and addiction. We've seen a lot of rappers being their health, you know what I mean, coming at risk and taking its toll because of things that they've done, various things that they put into their bodies are real toxic. We've seen a lot of the young rappers dying at the hands of toxic and harmful things that they put inside their body. So just talk about Eve, you know what I mean, coming out and basically, because I don't know if anybody's ever heard that she's you should pop Dandies and drink.
That's crazy.
Let's talk about that, man. Queen of Philly, you know what I mean, ex-Rough Rider queen. We all know Eve. Sitting in the background doing her, you know what I mean, her commentary thing. Shout out to Eve right now. But used to be a real force in the rap game. Often forgot. Yeah. But Eve used to be a problem. You know what I mean? Came out with a lot of dope records, was a force in the late 90s, early 2000s. And yeah, I mean, just talk about it, man. Talk about the addiction and Eve coming out and saying these things.
Right, yeah, man. It was kind of shocking to me. I was like, when you was playing, I'm like, who's that?
Yeah.
You like, it's Eve, and you never would think that, seeing her come up, but it's like, and when I hear stuff like this, I'm like, not that I say, oh, well, like people are human out here. And just like back in the day, people had different mechanisms, like whatever is here now, people are going to use, and, what's prevalent right now is perks, Xanax, and, alcohol's been around, and people self-medicate with a whole bunch of different things, but it's always like a deeper problem, that they're trying to cope with. And the fact that she's actually, speaking about it is great, because now I'm sure she's going to help other people who may have had it and then want to hide something and may not be brave enough to put it out there because of the ridicule, and they might get made fun of from people. So, it's therapy, and it looked like she overcame. I mean, she's doing her thing, acting. She got a billionaire husband, she's been successful. So, let this be a lesson to people out there, though, man, that it is hope, out there, if you got, whether it be alcohol, and this has to be said, because when Lil Wayne went through his little situation with the lean, I put a video up on my channel and I read a lot of the comments, and a lot of people just confessing in the comment section saying, yeah, man, I did this and I had that, and a couple other videos that I did on it. So it's a real thing, you know what I mean, out there. It's a real epidemic in a lot of places. It's not just, bigger here than there. And, a lot of people are dealing with it. So, yeah, they need healing from that.
I mean, you said that, you made a great point. A lot of these stars, they run to this stuff because they don't know who they are. They get such fame kind of following a persona and following this alter ego, and they gain so much success from it, they begin to get lost in it, and they don't know who they are anymore. And they never really dealt with the demon of the insecurity that they may have had prior to gaining all this fame and all this success, or may have really dived into the demon of their parents or this or that, or their stress of their environment. And they kind of just put the mask on and hit it right over the fame. And like Eve alluded to, once the music was going, once that kind of settled down, once the TV contract kind of settled down, you feel me, and things kind of slowed up, she got depressed. And it was like the only thing next to fame to run to was the other thing around, which was drugs and alcohol. Because we all know how easy it is and attainable for these stars and celebrities to get their hands on this kind of shit. And she may have been able to kind of swat it away at first, given her solid foundation that she had going on with the music and the shows and things like that. But once all those are going, and you really have to stare back into the face of who you are, it's hard to accept. So you have to run to something to get back into that mask. You don't have the fame anymore, so you have to run to that next best thing. And we see a lot of people crumbling from that. And shout out to Eve, like you said, for coming out and basically saying it. And like, we never heard that before. All we knew was the queen of Philly, you know what I mean, billionaire husband now, doing her thing on the talk show. She winning. You know what I mean? What else is there to say but to kind of just come out and give support to a Willow Smith who's still very young, millionaire parents. You would sit there from an outside perspective and think this little girl has no problems in the world. What could she possibly be mad at? But when you have you got Will Smith, Jada Pickett, your brother's famous, this person's famous, and you trying to live up to a shadow, and you're in a day and age where people are absolutely fucking ruthless. Yeah. So God forbid she puts out a record that people don't like, they're gonna smash her. God forbid she did this, they're gonna it's in a level of acceptance that she probably never felt and never got to look and accept herself and put herself in the mirror and say, this is me. She's young. We all remember how it is to be young and just to be in that position. You got to be sensitive to it. Like you said, these people need help and they need people to listen in an open ear. Let's not turn our ear to that young girl. You know what I mean? Let's really listen to what she has going on, because there's a million other ones that aren't in the position she is behind her. You feel me?
Facts, man. Definitely some good points. Shout out to Eve, definitely over there doing her thing. You're listening to the Uncensored Truth podcast with your brother Old God and Sam Ant. Man, this was a good one, man. We ain't done yet though. We want to talk.